It's time for heavy worker placement games. What is up and welcome back to 9 to 5 Gamers, and today we are taking a look at my top 10 worker placement Euro games. Now, I had about 30 games on this list, and I decided to just split them up according to their weight, which is their complexity levels. And so all of the games I'm about to mention are my heavyweights. These are the games that are weighing over 3, right? So if it's got a complexity of a 3, that's considered a heavy game. I think between a 2.5 and a 3 is usually kind of like middleweight, and anywhere before a 2.5 is more of a lightweight game. So we're going to do a little series on my top 10 heavy, medium, and lightweight worker placement / Euro games, because it's kind of what most Euro games are. But if you're new to the channel, hope you liked the video and just hit the like button. It would help out the channel a ton. And if you've never subscribed, if you like what you watch, become a subscriber. But with that said, let's get into this video because I don't want to waste your time. Number 10 on my list is I kind of was like determining whether I wanted to do this as like an honorable mention. I was going to do honorable mention, but I kind of just shifted it up, and I'll explain why a little bit later on in the video, and that is Transgalactica by Devere Games. This game gets a really bad rap because it had a bad rule book when it had like first coming out. And so now that they've kind of taken over that issue and they've been able to, you know, put out the proper rule books and stuff, this is actually a solid game that I think a lot of people would enjoy. You basically are just using worker placement to go up on different tracks and improve like different stats, and it allows you to do other really cool things. And so like you have like these big workers that can take like these main actions, but if somebody takes an action that you wanted to take on your turn, instead you could take your worker and you could do a follow action, which is really cool because it's like you can take that action but a lesser version of it, and you could do it on somebody else's turn. So when that person places their worker on the spot you want, they have to give an opportunity for anybody to follow, and everybody who wants to follow can go ahead and put their worker placement, their workers on those places. Really, really cool game. Transgalactica, I think, again, gets a really bad rap, but it's actually a very good game. So don't let any of the reviews or the scores mess with your idea of wanting to try this game at least, because I think it's a solid game. It's just, again, bad rule book, and there's really no excuse for that, but I'm glad that they've been able to kind of fix the problem since then. So that's my number 10. My number 9 is the game The White Castle. I know we're not talking about the burger joint. We are talking about this interesting worker placement, but your workers that you're using are dice. And there's this really interesting mechanism when you're placing the dice where you have to be placing something that's bigger than the dice that was already placed there. So you got to kind of top that dice, I believe. It's been a little bit since I've played it, but I know that they added the matcha expansion, which only made the game even better. Some people might argue that it made the game not as great, but for me, I really like the matcha expansion. I like the extra dice at the bottom and the little bridge at the bottom and the matcha part that it adds. That little module just kind of expands the game a little bit and adds some extra stuff that I felt like the first game is extremely tight. That's one of the things I'm going to be saying a lot in this video. So if you don't understand what that means, it just means that that there's some kind of limitation on the game that makes it so it's like you've really got to think hard about what you do, because it's got a limited amount of turns, or the scoring is very tight where it's like you're grubbing for like 1 or 2 points, right? Or maybe the game is just like it's a very close game. Like it's not going to be like somebody's taking the lead by like 50 points. It's like, no, it's really tight. It's really close. So this game happens to feel like that. I felt like when I played it the first time, there was like, man, I really wish there was like an extra turn to really do everything that I wanted to do. But again, that's just an efficiency puzzle. And once you get past that, you're able to do a lot more. And it's just such a fun experience. Love the White Castle, one of the best worker placement games I've played. My number 8, some of y'all are going to hate me for this being so low, but this game burns my brain. This is by far the most complex game on this list. By the way, these games are not listed in order of how complex they are or what their weight is. It's listed about how much I enjoy them as far as the top 10 goes. So this one happens to be the heaviest game on my list, and that is Kanban EV. If you've never played Kanban EV, it is this Euro game that Vital Lacerda did, and he's done a lot of these, but this one is so heavy. I think the complexity on BGG is like at a 4, which is probably one of the I probably is the most complex game I've seen on BGG. You know, there's probably some other ones that are a little bit more complex, but man, Kanban will mess with your brain. And basically you just work in a car factory, you're trying to produce automobiles, and as you're doing that, you're placing workers in different spots to get different parts to build cars and send them down this worker assembly line. And as they're going, there is a manager who, I always call her Karen, but it's not Karen. Sorry if your name is Karen. I'm so sorry for what they did to your name. Don't be a Karen about it. But the idea was that these workers, as you're placing them, there's this manager who comes by. I think it's Susan or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. But if she ends up in the department in which you're placing one of your workers, she's going to scrutinize like everything that you do, and it makes the game a lot harder. And she kind of moseys around the map doing different things, so you never kind of really know 100% where she's going to be. And it's just such a cool game, man. Kanban was really good. It really racked my brain when I played it, but I really enjoyed my experience, to be honest with you. Very tough, very good. Love this game. That's my number 8. Number 7 is a game called Obsession. For me, this game has amazing quality, even though it looks kind of plain. The quality of this game is beautiful. This is a Pride and Prejudice. If you like Bridgerton, get ready, because that's what this game is basically about. You are a family that you have fallen from grace, and you have had your name kind of defamed, and your whole family name has fallen under, and you're trying to restore the family name. And so you have this estate that's been entrusted to you, and you are going to add rooms to this estate. You're going to add tennis courts and different stuff like that to try to build out this beautiful estate. Each one of the rooms that you add is a worker placement spot that gives you a certain reward, and you are going to have within your estate certain workers, butlers, maids, different things like that, all of them different colors that do different things. And so in order to bring guests to the house to restore your name and kind of like bring your fame up, you're kind of bringing these cards of these guests are coming in, their cards, and those cards are going to have certain colored workers that you have to use to fulfill them. And so you have to bring them to a specific room with specific workers, and once you use a worker, it goes into this like cycle of rest, recover, and then ready again. And so like your workers, when you use them, they get about 2 turns before you're going to be able to get them back. And it is just such an amazing puzzle. One of the things I always tell people is like, be careful with the gossiping tile. There's like this tile, I believe, that lets you become like a gossip mill where you're going out there and telling people. You have to, this piece is so broken that you have to take it out of the game at the very beginning to shuffle up and deal out cards, like the little tiles, to everybody and put tiles in the market. You have to do that and then put it in and shuffle it around, because if you get this in your opening hand, you will steamroll the other player. It is in the rules that you can't do this, so you have to make sure that you follow that rule. It's very important. Me and my wife didn't do that the first time I played it, and I suffered because of it, because she became the gossip rule, and it was like stealing like fame and wealth and stuff like it's terrible, but it is such an interesting concept. But again, if you like Bridgerton, you'll love this game. Worker placement, beautifully done, wonderful production. I love Obsession. It is in the top 100 for a reason. That's why it's in my heavy top 10s. Number 6 on my list is Andromeda's Edge / Dwellings of Elder Vale. If you've ever played either of them, I guess thematically, you have to look at both of them and then go, which theme do I like, fantasy or sci-fi? And then pick the one you want to play, because they're both very similar games. They're made by the same dude. I would say, if you're asking me my opinion on which one's better, I would say Andromeda's Edge has the edge over Dwellings of Elder Vale, and that's because they were able to mitigate a part of the game that I really didn't like, which is the dice combat. But apart from that, it is such an interesting concept of a game where you are doing worker placement like you would in any other worker placement game. I don't think I explained that at the beginning, but it's too late to do it now. But we're in the middle of the video. Hey, this is what worker placement is. You are taking workers, putting them on a specific spot to gain resources, and using those resources to gain points somehow to win the game. So in this game, though, your workers that you place out are interesting, because as you place the workers out, when you leave them out there, you can turn them into dwellings in Dwellings of Elder Vale, or you could turn them into like, oh man, I forgot what they're called, but they're like basically like little dwellings as well. And basically it becomes a permanent part of the board that gets you resources, and also at the same time, it scores you points. But the thing is that by putting those out there, you're losing workers. So it's like I have workers that I can place out there, but when I put them on the board and then convert them into a dwelling, they now are permanently on the board and I don't get that worker back, so I have less workers to work with. Such a beautiful mechanism, and that's the reason why I put it on this list, because I got to get some differentiation in the way that they use the workers. I think that's really my view on worker placement, is like, how do they use the workers and how is it unique so that you can have a different experience than just kind of like the classic, they put a worker, you get a thing. This one does it very well. I love Andromeda's Edge, and I love the way they mitigate the dice combat in this game with the targeting and different stuff like that. Very, very good. I love Andromeda's Edge, Dwellings of Eldervale. Fantasy or sci-fi, take your pick. You will not be disappointed with this game. Next up on my list, my number 5 is Paladins of the West Kingdom. One of the heaviest worker placement games I've played, at least in my opinion, just because, man, it's like, I would venture to say that anybody who likes this game will only play it with people who have already played it. Like, teaching this to new people, woo, what a bear. As a matter of fact, is one of the reasons why I don't play it often and have actually, it's not even in my collection anymore. I ended up selling it. And the reason why was just because I never played it with anybody, but I love the experience. So somebody else has the game, so I can just go over their house and play it. I don't need my own copy of it. But Paladins of the West Kingdom is such a phenomenon. When everybody knows what they're doing and you play this game, there's the worker placement in this game is so good. And it's like, you get this board with all of these different worker placement spots, but each worker placement spot you need to spend workers almost like their currency. So instead of just taking a worker, putting them on a spot, you're actually saying this spot requires a red, white, and purple worker. So I'm going to put the red, the white, and the purple, and each turn you're getting like a handful of like different colored workers, and you have to place specific colors on specific spots to do specific actions to gain victory points and ultimately win the game. Paladins of the West Kingdom, though, does it so well, and it's such an interesting game that I just adore this game. It'll always be in like my top 10. I don't think it'll ever fall out of my top 10, but it's at number 5 for now. It was higher before, but it has fallen just because I don't play it as much, but it's still amazing. If anybody knew how to play already and asked me, hey Jeremy, do you want to play Paladins? I'm like, I'm down, bro, because this game is great. It takes a little bit of time, but it is very, very good. The West Kingdom series I hear is very good. This one happens to be my favorite. Number 4 on my list is Dune Imperium. Boring, but Dune Imperium's a great game. If you've never played that game, I talk about it so much on the channel. That's the reason why I say it's boring. Not because the game is boring, but because I just feel like it's boring for me to always mention Dune Imperium for like everything. And that's because this game has like every mechanism that you could possibly think of. And so it's worker placement, it's also deck building, and it's part of the trio of games that came out at that time that was deck building, worker placement. It's actually heavier than Arnak, I think, by a little bit. And so it made it onto the heavy list, and Arnak probably made it onto my midweight. So if somebody comes in and says, oh, you need to play Arnak, that would be my friend David. He always tells me, you need to put Arnak on your list. I'm like, it's on my list, it's just on a different list, okay? But for heavy worker placement, Dune Imperium's awesome, and the reason why is because you're deck building, and the cards that you add are what allows you to go to specific spots on the board. And so if you want to place workers on different spots, it's like, I need to make sure I have the card for the location I'm trying to go to, and it has a bunch of symbology for that. But the cards also have effects and do different things. This is a really good game, very tight when it comes to the points. I think it's like first person at like 10 points wins, but getting to those 10 points is insane. And also there's like losing points and gaining points and stealing points. It's crazy. So, and there's these intrigue cards that kind of break the game in ways where it's like, hey, we're doing combat. I have 10 troops. You have 9 troops. I win. Haha. I have a card that gives me plus 18 troops. I was like, wait, what the heck? There's no card that does that. But it is pretty interesting the way all of the different intrigue cards work. And I love the worker placement. I love that there's like the mentality where it's like, there's a spot you can go to that if you go into governance, it'll give you like an extra worker to use, which is really, really cool. So it kind of gives you that advantage to have more turns than other people. Love Dune Imperium. We'll never stop talking about it. My number 3, which was incidentally my number 3 and my number 10, because I had they're two games that are very similar, and I had both of them on the list, but I decided to mesh them together because I like them both a lot instead of mixing up the list and just having them on the the list separately. And that's going to be Caverna and Agricola. These are really good Euros, man. Like, I'll tell you, Uwe Rosenberg knows his way around a worker placement game. And the only thing with his games is that you always have to kind of like feed your workers. And so that ends up being like an interesting mechanism that you end up forgetting about and going, oh my gosh, I forgot to feed my workers. Great. But if you can work around that and muster up the strength to ignore that part, most of his games are amazing. Caverna and Agricola, incredible games. You have a farm and you are putting things onto this farm where you're generating foods that you can feed to your people, but you also can use your farmland to house animals. There's a brand new edition of Agricola coming out, which looks amazing. Caverna's cool because it's basically the same thing as Agricola, but on the side of it, it's got a little bit of a mountain board where you can go into the mountain and mine into it. And then while you're mining, you can get different resources like rubies and stuff like that. This is cool because you start off with like some workers, and then your workers are like a family, a husband and wife, and then you can like have children, and then those children will become extra workers that you can use on your farm. And yeah, it's just such a cool game, and the theme and everything, the way that it does everything in this game is really great. The worker placement spots are great. I like Agricola for the card play. It's got really cool cards that give you different abilities. Caverna, I just really love the cave system part of it. I think either of them could be great for you. My favorite just being Caverna because it's like Agricola plus a little extra. But yeah, I love Agricola, I love Caverna. That's why they're my number 3s. And speaking of Uwe, number 2 is Le Havre. If you've never played Le Havre, it is this game. And again, I know I'm saying that wrong. I've had people correct me on it where they say it's not Le Havre, you have to say it correctly. And I'm like, okay, everybody in the gaming community calls this Le Havre. The actual pronunciation of it, I'm gonna butcher, but it was like Le Havre, right? It's like this weird, it's French, but it's like I can't say it because I'm American and I can't say French things, okay? I can't say croissant, which is like croissant, right? Like I don't want to say that because I'm American. I'm just gonna say it the way we say it here, which is Le Havre. So if you don't like the way I say it, tough noogies. Also, people were correcting me saying that Le Havre, they're like, Le Havre is the name of a city. And I was like, I know that, but it literally means the harbor. That's what Le Havre means. It means the harbor. And it's literally a harbor in the game. But it is a city that you're building. And so it's a really interesting game where there is like you have like a ship, and the ship goes down this harbor, and it's like picking up different like resources as it goes down. And then you're using those resources to using your money to buy like new buildings, and these buildings you put them in your territory, your area, and other people can place their workers on them to generate stuff. But you basically are using all of these little buildings to like better your ingredients. So like if you have like cattle, you can turn them into like fine steaks by going to like a smokehouse or something like that. So there's really cool how you can take like certain ingredients and bricks and turn them into this, and you turn this into that. It's cool because all of them, you can kind of flip them over and get the upgraded version of it. Really, really great. I love Le Havre. It's one of my favorite worker placement games. It's the worker placement part of it, I would say, is probably not even that strong in a sense, but it is a worker placement game, and it's really, really good. I just love this game, and I will play this is a game I will play anytime somebody wants to play this game. I will play it. So just hit me up if you want to play. And last but not least, my number 1 on this list, I wonder if you guys can guess it. It is A Feast for Odin. This game came in like a wrecking ball, all right? No Miley Cyrus. But it literally like, it was sitting on my shelf for like a long time. I had the Norwegian expansion, and I was like, one day I'm going to play this. But from what I've heard is it's a super heavy game. It's really complicated, and it's going to be a lot. And so people are like, yo, it's this heavy game. It's really good though. And I was just like, looked at the rule book, and I was like, there's so many pages. And one day I just said, you know what? I think it was a content creator who said, the board is like 64 worker placement spots. And I'm like, how am I going to memorize what all these things do? But then, somebody who was teaching the game said, hey, don't get worried about that. This is actually really easy because each ability or each worker placement spot, there's 4 different versions of that same thing that get you better resources. So straight across, it's like you kind of know what they all do. It's really not that many. And I was like, okay, that gave me some solace. I took the game out, I learned it, I watched some videos, I watched some playthroughs, and then I got myself ready. And I played a game of Feast for Odin, and let me tell y'all how quickly this shot up my top 10 list to the point where it's on my top 10 list of like all time. But not only that, this is the greatest heavy worker placement game that exists on the market today. I would die on that hill. Like that is my hill that I would stand on, is that this game is phenomenal. And it's got worker placement, but you're also like worker placing on different spots. And like I said, there's 64 worker placement spots that do different things. But every time you go to one of these spots, you end up getting polyomino pieces that you put on your little island board. So you have this island board that has like an island board, and you put these worker placement spots, like you're putting these polyominoes rather on these spots and covering up like different things, resources that you can get, and also like coins. And then like there's like these -1 points, so you've got to fill in this polyomino board completely with all of these different treasures. And the heavier the thing you do, so it's like there's like hunting where it's like, you know, you're gonna hunt, you know, like rabbits or foxes or whatever. And then if you go to the next level of that action, the first level you only use 1 worker. If you want to take the second level of it, you two workers. The third level, 3 workers. Fourth level, 4 workers. And the fourth level is like whale hunting. So if you're against whale hunting, there is whale hunting in this game. You're not actually hunting whales, but you know, it's just a game. But anyways, yeah, so it's interesting because after you do that, if you go like whale hunting, for example, and you get like the blubber or the tusks or whatever it is that you're hunting, you take those things that you're getting are like ivory, and they're like really big, like chunky pieces to take up more space on your polyomino board. So it's such a good game, and it mixes so many cool mechanisms into it. And the solo version of this game is phenomenal. You get 2 different colored workers, and you place out your workers onto the worker placement board in the first color. And then for your next round, you use the second color of workers. So like if I was playing with red and green, I put the red ones out onto the board, take my actions with them, and then after I'm done, I leave them on the board, and now they're taking up spots so that when I'm placing my green workers, the red ones are getting in the way. And then on my next turn, I take all my red workers back, and now I'm placing those, and now the green ones are in the way. So it's so cool, man, because if a spot is blocked, you can't go there. Feast for Odin's fantastic. I love that game. I will always love that game, and it is the best heavy worker placement / Euro game that exists on the market right now. If you don't have a copy of this, get a copy as soon as possible. It's so good. And remember, all these games on my list are my personal opinion, but I want to hear yours. So put it in the comments section and let me know, what are your favorite like heavy Euros? And if you didn't see one of your favorites on my list, it's probably because I haven't played it, or just because it's dog water and you shouldn't like it. No, I'm just joking. Obviously, I haven't played every single game, but maybe there's a game that didn't make this list but is going to make my next list, which is going to be my medium weight Euros. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel to get more content. And also, if you want to support the channel further, become a member. Members are going to get exclusive content, which is on my members only videos, and you can go back there and watch some of the videos I've already posted, and then anytime I do updates, I'll put them on there. And special perks that come with being a channel member, including possible merch drops that I might be doing soon or later, who knows. But become a member and support the channel financially if you are interested in supporting it in a different way. For example, I do a lot of stuff other than board game content. I host board game nights for my local community. I also host board game clubs in my school. And so I'm constantly out there promoting free board game nights and trying to get people. And so I usually buy snacks and stuff, and I give snacks out to people for free. I don't want people to have to pay when they go. I bring my games out so people can play for free. We're always constantly doing events and different things like that. If you like that and you want to support that, you can always just go to my Ko-Fi account, and at Ko-Fi you can actually donate money without YouTube taking 50-60% of that money. Well, actually I think it's like 40% of that money. Or if you want to become a channel member here for the content. If you would like to just support what I'm doing on the side, go to Ko-Fi and check out the links over there and become a member there to support monthly. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate you guys being patient with my long absence. I'm still getting used to the new job that I have, which is still my old job, but like an additional job on top of my old job. So I'm doing like 2 jobs at the same time. That's been an interesting grueling endeavor, but I'm getting through it, and I'm trying to get my content done. So if you haven't seen content in a while, that's the reason why. It's literally I'm working a new job and I'm trying to get used to the new rhythm, but I'm here and I am getting things done and got my new camera set up. So hopefully this will fix all the glitchiness that I've been having with the last one. I've been recording all of my videos on an iPhone 12 for literally since the beginning of this channel. So it's now that I'm switching to my newer iPhone. So hopefully that helps out with the videos. But hey man, support the channel and maybe I can get an actual camera one day and I won't have to worry about using my cell phone to do this. So thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys later. Peace out.